Welcome. This is lesson 2 of unit 1 of Super Goal 5. This session is recorded and it's for the teachers. This is the page of the book, and what will our students be able to do? We will follow up with what they will be able to do after we do the lesson. But for your information, we already have a lesson 1 for this, so this is a follow-up in a lesson 2. So we will come back to that later. The opening task is always one of the most important tasks because it helps the students meet the 4 principles of the first few minutes of a classroom. Number 1, code switching, which allows them to change their language from their native language to English. Number 2, it helps them give a sense of direction. The sense of direction is, where are we going with this lesson? Number 3, it heightens the attention. And number 4, everybody in the classroom can participate, not just the people who know English. So what we want the students to do here is to raise their attention and make them very aware of all these questions. So we're going to tell them to write the number of the question you hear in the order you hear them. On the screen, they will see the questions in this order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might ask them, to take 30 seconds to a minute to read them silently, or you might ask them to, read the questions aloud, but in a low voice to each other in pair. That would be up to you, depending on the students and what time of the day it is. Now comes the teachers section. This is for you, the teacher. For the teacher, you want to read these questions, but in the blue order. So the order that the students will be writing in is on a piece of paper. They will write the questions that you see in the order that you say them. So for example, your order is, you speak from here. You say, how much money do you spend a week? Now the students will see, how much money do you spend a week? They will hear that this was the first one, and they would write 3 on their paper. Number 2 for you is, how often do you exercise? But what the students will see is, how often do you exercise? So the students will write 5 on their paper. So the students must have a paper and a pencil, and the students will not see this. This will be printed out, or you can copy it on a sheet of paper to say to the students, these are the instructions. You read these, but you never say the number. All right? And this is the answer key in the order that they were read. You might want to give this to the students as an answer key. One more time, I will read them in the order of the blue, okay? How much money do you spend a week? How often do you exercise? How many hours a day do you watch TV? How many hours a day do you sleep? How much time do you spend on the internet? How often do you go shopping? How long do you talk on the phone a day? So that's the order that you want. And it's not important if they get all the answers correct or not. The most important thing is the 4 principles. They cannot write the correct number unless they hear and see the sentence. So you are forcing the mind of every student to move faster into English. You are heightening their attention. They know that today is going to be focused on questions, and everybody can do it. Now, learning task number 1. The instructions are, and this will be teacher-led, underline the detail that follows each question words that are in the box. Then write above the detail what or action. So let's look at this. This is the box that has the question words. What follows? What detail follows the question word, how many? Hours a day. Is that a what or an action? It's a what. So this is what you want the students to learn. You're going to give them questions with the boxes around the question words. They're going to look at the detail that follows that question word, they're going to underline it, and they're going to say whether it's an action or a what. Let's have another look. This is the box. All right. We need to underline the detail that follows. Do you talk? And saving the you, which is a person or a who, but the whole detail is do you talk is the action. This is what you want them to do. All right. You might talk about it. You might go back and explain it another time. And after this, immediately, we are following a system called incremental learning. So, which means that after learning a task 2 or 3, they are immediately given something to do after it. We do not wait for 5, 6 explanations and then telling them what to do, because if some of the students cannot follow or did not follow, they're gone. This helps keep as many students as possible in the learning process. So one more time, you tell them this is what you want to do. So this is an explanation and a demonstration. And on your own, not pairs. It doesn't say pairs, it says on your own, because we want everybody to get as much benefit and experience from this, and they need to do it on their own. So give them some time. It's a continuation from the previous one. Give them some time to do it. You might give it to them as a handout. They might copy the questions on a piece of paper or in their copybooks. It's your decision as a teacher. So give them some time. And of course, as a teacher, you are going around making sure that everybody's doing it and helping people who need help. Not giving an answer, but giving help. When they finish, you want to give them the feedback. And you say, well, check your answers. See what you got. You do it. So it's not going around and asking 2, 3, or 4 of the students, what is the answer to number 1? What is the answer to number 2? Because that kind of management system is one of the 25 to 30 students is talking, but you cannot guarantee that the other 29 are paying attention to the answers. And when the person gives an answer, they might slow down or not pay attention anymore because I've done my job. I gave my answer. Now I don't have to pay attention anymore. So student-centered active learning means every student is doing it at the same time. That's what we mean by student-centered. Student-centered. Active also means everybody's doing it. We cannot keep doing 1 student out of 25 every minute or 2, because then the experience of every student will be limited to that 1 minute. We want all the students to get maximum experience time. Let's look at it together. How much what? Money. How much what? Time. How often do you exercise? That's an action. How often do you go shopping? That's another action. How many hours, sorry, we missed that. It should be how many hours a day, that should be underlined, and that's a what. How frequently does John exercise? That's an action. How long does Josh spend playing video games? That's another action. Now, learning task number 2. What we want to do, and this is just a demonstration here, but if you have time and if you want to give more assignment or homework, I really, really recommend that you give the same model to the students, you know, as extra assignment or as homework. So you would take the text that is in the book. This is the text of one of the passages in the book. Find an action in the text and underline it. Write a question for it, for each of the question words below, using the words in the box, question words in the box using the action you underline. Let me give a demonstration. He works out at the gym regularly. So that's the action. Good. What we want to do is to take this action word and make 3 different questions for workout. Let's try this again. You're going to find an action. So the students, You're telling them find an action in the text, write a question for each of the question words in the box using the action you underline. So let's have a look. How long, we need workout. How long does he work out at the gym? Now, we still want workout, but we want how much? How much time does he spend at the gym? So notice time is a what? How many? How many days a week does he work out in the gym? So what we did before in task one with the work on your own is going to feed into task number two. One more time, we give the student a passage. We ask them to find an action in the passage and write a question for each of the question words using the same process as we did before. Clear? Let's try this again, okay? So we're going to stay with the same passage. It's always good to stay with the same passage because when we are with the same passage, it means the students are rereading it frequently. So the next one is runs, okay? So now we want to make three questions, one with how long, one with how much, and one with how many. So what we're trying to get to the student is that the how long, the how much, and the how many do not depend only on the word runs, but what we put after them. So for example, how long does he run? Maybe he runs for an hour or 30 minutes or 5 minutes. So how long does he run? That's an action part. How much time does he spend running? That's a what. How many days a week does he run? That's a what. These are very important to get the students to learn how to do something that we're going to do later on, okay? Now, since we used task 2 as a demo, and you can do the whole class, you can do some of the students because this is part of what we call the demonstration. They're learning how to do it, okay? So after you do it with them, all right, you go, all right, on your own. So now we have workout and runs. So they can't use those anymore. They've got to find two more. What do you think the next one is? Plays. Good. So we got to make a question with how long, how much, and how many. You give them the chance to do it. I really insist that you make sure that everybody always puts a question mark at the end of a question and a period at the end of the sentence. Make it part of your correction and marking that it's a question, it's got to have a question mark, okay? Now, when we finish, when they have some time to do this, then we go to the next one. Goes rock climbing. Goes rock, because you know we can say goes rock climbing, we can say goes shopping, you got that, all right? And once they had some time, again, you as a teacher, you're walking around the classroom, you are helping the students that need help, but everybody's working. And remember the two words, student-centered, active. Active, student-centered, everybody, not just some. Okay, when they finish, feedback time. So what you want to do is to say, all right, now why don't you check what you have written? After you give everybody a chance, everybody should have the chance to correct on their own first for a couple of minutes. You might want to ask one or two what they got, but the answers are there, okay? Now, for the next one, rock, goes rock climbing, okay? Here are the answers. Always make them underline and write. Do you know what that means? That is called visible thinking. So now let's look at the three keywords that we're working on. Active, student-centered, visible thinking. So every time we underline, we annotate, we put boxes around, we circle, we draw arrows. That's part of the visible thinking techniques. Now let's go to language interaction. Remember, language interaction is students got to talk to each other. If we don't talk to each other and we only talk to the teacher, we're not going to pick up the language. So this, as we said, is a tool. Now, in the first lesson of the Super Goal 5, lesson 1, they started to learn the tool. So in this second lesson or second period, it's going to be much faster. What are the instructions? In pairs, one of you say a question using words from the screen. The other, please reply. Switch when you finish. And the tool will be on the next slide. So let's give a quick demonstration. There are students sitting in pairs. One of them is going to say, how many days a week? How many days a week do you play tennis? How many days? You can put all of these correctly because we have the word play tennis, we have the word drink, but there is no reason why you can't add some more, like for example, from previous lessons in the future. But always make them like real life. I mean, how about eat pizza? How many times a day do you eat pizza? The question is correct and the answer might be correct, but the question is ridiculous. Nobody eats pizza 2-3 times a day, or rare, you know? So it's not a genuine question, even though it is an accurate question. Try to put verbs and nouns and question words that they have learned first, okay? So this would be like recycling words from previous units as we start to move into unit 2 and 3. How many days a week do you play tennis? 2 days a week. Or they can put a complete sentence, I play tennis 2 days a week. It's up to you. All right. So let's look at the tool again. We have the questions and the sentences. The students are sitting in pairs as student A and B. Student A will say a question using words from the screen. Student B will answer in a low voice. I prefer that the books are closed. Let's have an example. How often do you, now not all the students will start with the same thing. Students are allowed to start any way they want. How often do you go rock climbing? The other one says, how many days do you take for vacation a year? The other one, how frequently do you check your mobile phone? How many? So we don't expect all the students to say the same question at the same time. Let them start with the one that is most familiar for them and that they like. The second student will answer, I rarely go rock climbing. I take 20 days a year for vacation. I spend 2 hours. I check it 10 times an hour. So don't worry about mistakes. That's part of the learning process. So the interaction tool is for the students to start to be motivated, because motivation, so now what do we have? We have 4 words. We have active, we have student-centered, we have visible thinking, and we have motivation. The greatest motivator of the human beings, and you can do the research for that, is when they have the choice of what to do or what to say. So these are complete choices here. They can do anything. So you might want to say, you know, when student A finishes asking 3 questions, then it will be B's turn, or 1 question, 1 answer, then B question and A answer. It's up to you to decide the management of that. So this is the screen that you will put up, and you will say in pairs, one of you say a question using the words from the screen. The other, please reply. Switch when you finish. The management system is up to you. Do you want A to ask a question, B answer, and then B ask a question, A answer? Or do you want them to do 3 questions each before they switch? Up to you. Now, when we finish, the most important part is the assessment, because we live in the world of tests, quizzes, and exams. And the quiz and the test and the exam has to follow the actual period of learning. What do you think it's going to be? Look at it. So this is the assessment task. We said, write a question for each answer. Isn't that what we've been doing in the past 45 minutes? Good. And look at this. You can take this straight to an exam. All you need to do is to change the variables or the sentences. So the student goes to a test feeling confident that they know what to do. I know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do it on. So between lesson 1 of Super Goal 5 and lesson 2 of Super Goal 5, and by the time we finish the unit, you will have a complete assessment package for the unit. And the students now know, I cannot study for an exam. I've got to learn for the exam. So you might want to do this in class where everybody is doing it. You might want to give it as handouts. You might want to put it on the screen and then give them the answers. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, we're going to try to put up a lesson or lessons for every unit of each of the 9 books currently being used in the first term. We will also be working on trying to create remote learning for the students so that we can support them by them doing this autonomously or with the help of a teacher. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.